Hello and welcome to the Yarnings Podcast. I'm Christine and I'll be your host. Welcome to episode 29. Today is Tuesday, October 7th. It is a beautiful sunshiny day. Once again, it has been unseasonably nice and sunny. It was actually 85 on Saturday, and I guess that topped some records that they hadn't expected. So it's been very nice. I have been enjoying it. But it's going to be nice when it gets a little more fall-y. We actually had to have the AC turned on and all that, but today the windows are open, so you may hear a little bit of ambient noise. So welcome back. This is our third video podcast now. I hope you're enjoying it. I really am having fun getting to do this every week, getting to talk with you guys, getting to chat a little on Instagram and in the Ravelry groups. It's really been a big happy spot in my week. So I wanted to thank some people that had been posting on Instagram and hashtagging Yarnings. That was really fun to see some friends that were watching the show. And today I have tried to work with the lighting a little bit more. I'm kind of coming up with my own idea of studio lighting, of what it could be without buying any expensive specialty lights. And so I've got poster board like kids would use for school projects, and lights pointing at that to reflect back on my face. I've got some lights on a grid board on the other side of the room behind the camera, and that is working well, but I need a piece of fabric to diffuse the light a little bit. The tissue paper that I have up there is a little flimsy and it keeps falling down. So if you see it all of a sudden get really bright in here, that's probably what happened. Hopefully I have it up there well enough today. I shall take some pictures of that and share it with you guys once I have the fabric up there. Right now it looks a little cheesy. So I'm just trying to get a nice warm atmosphere, and I think that is a good way for my craft office to be anyhow. With the darker seasons coming, I want to be sure that I have a nice, inviting, warm space, and so sometimes that might mean coming in, turning on all the studio lights, and sitting here and crafting. I don't have very much lighting in my new bedroom since we've sold some of the furniture. Sold all of the bedroom furniture, in fact. And so it's not quite as good of a place for crafting anymore, but that's okay. I really just need it to be for sleeping. So I've been trying to do more of my crafting in here or downstairs on the chairs, and that's been going pretty well. So, I'm going to try and not say so all the time. That is apparently my All right. The intro contest has now closed. I left the thread open and I just wrote down all the names of the people that are there because the thread is going to be ongoing. And if you're just seeing this and you missed the contest, please do go and introduce yourself in the thread. It's called Introduce Yourself on our group. I'll give you all the info of the links as we get to the end. We had a total of 23 people that introduced themselves, which is awesome. 23 of you stood up and said your names, and I got to know you each a little better, and it was so nice. And a couple of people did a little more conversation in there, and that was awfully happy too. So thank you for participating. That really was a great first contest. So out of our 23 people, there are still several that I didn't tell you about last week. Last week I told you about numbers 1 through 16 and we had another handful introduce themselves this week. So let me tell you. We had Knit and Wolf Dawn. She's from Wolf Farb's soaps and podcast. A. McGar, who's Angel, and I'm going to see her soon. Yay! Sandy Knits 88. She is Sandy from Pennsylvania. And surprisingly enough, we have somebody else from Pennsylvania right below her. Wisdom, who's Camille from Pennsylvania. Thank you. We had Miazoe. I don't know if that's how you say it. Miazoe. And that's Judy from Toronto. And Java Jenny. Jenny from Wisconsin. She's awesome. I have one of her bags. It's hanging in the closet right now. I thought it had my project in it, but I guess I hung it back up where it's supposed to be. And Strickland66, who's Michelle from Georgia. So thank you again, all of you, for introducing yourselves. I already have opened up the random number generator to get that going, so I don't have to do it on the air. And the winner of our Introduce Yourself contest is Shauna, Knit for Beer. Congratulations, Shauna. I will, if you will PM me on Ravelry, I will gift, and let me know what pattern you would like. I will gift you a pattern of $5 or less, and I would love for you to find this out while you're watching, so I won't tag you. So please do contact me when you see this, and I'll get that pattern to you. And I'll be excited to see what you pick too. It's always fun to see what's on people's wish lists and what they're looking forward to knit. Sometimes people have some pretty grand plans, and it really inspires me. So congratulations, Shauna. And thanks everybody for playing. And let's see, now I have to switch back to the other page because that was on last week's that I added to. Okay, so a few life stories from this week. I had Aunt Christine's Knitting School, which is a monthly-ish meet up with my niece Leah, and she tried to knit a hat and had some difficulties with the DPNs. I think the DPNs were really too short for the hat. Like, the length of them was actually too short, and so her stitches were falling off the ends. And so we ripped that a while ago and got her going on dishcloths and did some other things, and she started a scarf in the meantime. So this time we were going to get her started on a hat, a flat hat that we could seam up. But she saw me knitting this hat and she said, "Can't I just knit it in the round?" I said, "Sure, why not?" So we got her cast on for a hat, and she's going to work on that while she's here. She's still having a challenge with knit one, purl one, and knowing when to do that. And that just comes with practice. I keep telling her she'll be fine. But we're going to leave it here. She's going to work on it next time she comes over. And I'm excited to see her wearing it because the yarn was what I gave to her for Christmas last year. So, and I gave her the shawl that I knit for her, the Tan House Brick shawl, and she thought that was great. She recognized the yarn as the one that she'd been looking at on my shelves, and she was really excited to be wearing it. And I neglected to take a picture while she was wearing it. So next time I see her, I'll take a great picture and put it on the Ravelry page. She was already looking at all the different ways that she could wear it, and it's just so cute that she is proud of the knitting stuff. Besides that, in life stories, I've been practicing a bit of WYCWYC, which is what you can when you can. As my energy wanes and waxes with my illnesses, some days are a little easier to get exercise than others, and so one of the fitness groups that I've been a part of, fitness bloggers, I went to a conference a few years ago. I'll link to the post on my blog about it. Used a term called WYCWYC. Let's see. What you can when you can. And I got the keychain this week from a local Portland jewelry maker, Jasmine of Bama and Rye. I'll link to her in the show notes too. And it's on my wallet with my ZK Zombie Knitpocalypse 5K that I did a 2.5K. And so I've just been trying to do what I can, when I can, walk when I can. And I did a lot of resting last week, and that's okay too. So my body just needed that. So back at being a little more active this last weekend, and that's nice. Well, let's get into the knitwear, shall we? The knitting, the knitwear. Let's start with now wearing, because Annetta on our forums had commented in last week's Fall Shawl Style thread, wondering how I wear my shawls and how to choose what size to stay on your shoulders. For me, I like bigger shawls. I'm not a super big person, but I like the more voluptuous things that will stay on my shoulders. This is the Pagona shawl by Stephen West. Yeah, I think so. And you can see it has stockinette and reverse stockinette sections. And it is a very interesting shape. It's kind of squarish. And so then it has a lot of flowiness. And it stays on my shoulders really well. I don't have to worry about it sliding off like I do some other shawls. Some of that comes from the fact that I used a little heavier yarn. This is Blue Moon Fiber Arts Socks That Rock. They're local and always easy to get, so I think both of these were mill-end colors, not things that had names. They probably had names, but these might have been the rare gem version or one that had knots in it or something, so they sold them discounted. The shawl itself doesn't call for two colors, but I wanted it a little bigger. And my friend Amy Toady Joe at the time pointed out that it kind of looked like cherry trees with the nice, rich, warm burgundy brown and the flower petal-y colors of the top of it. And I thought that was a beautiful description of it. So this is one of the shawls that stays on my shoulders really well. I like this size. One thing, if you are trying to figure out what shawls do look good, is go to some knitwear event, try people's shawls on. Knitters are notorious for being willing to share. And I'm always willing to take off my shawl and show it off. I suppose I'm probably one of the more willing persons, but I don't know. I think that if you approach a knitter, say, I love your shawl. I really am interested in knitting one like it. Can I try it on? They're gonna let you. And then I also brought out my Wren shawl because I designed it intentionally to stay on my shoulders. I wanted something, again, I knit this before I knit the Pagona, but it has a similar tight top and flowy bottom. It's a nice big shawl. This is the original one, and so it's a little well worn. But again, it just stays on my shoulders really nice. It lays down really nice. And even the smaller version, which I knit for Zombie Apocalypse this year, so that I had something in a yarn from somebody who was vending there. This is in Sun Valley's MCN lace weight, so it's the smaller version. It's just on a little bigger needles, but with lace weight yarn. And it just floats around my shoulders because it's lighter with the lace weight, but it still stays because of the shape. So I tend to prefer the circular shawls. The triangle shawls are nice sometimes too, but I do prefer ones that have more roundness. Is that a term? There's got to be some more technical terms for that than what I'm using. I suppose I should have looked up what the different shawl shapes on Ravelry are, but So those are some thoughts that I had on shawl shapes. If you would like to join the conversation, you can either go back to last week's Fall Shawl Style thread on Ravelry and comment back to Anetta, or you can go into this episode 29 thread and we can talk some more. But either way, you should add your photos to Instagram and tag them Fall Shawl Style to go along with Downseller Studio Jen's desire of seeing how people wear their shawls in the fall. And we just haven't really had that much fall weather yet here, so I haven't worn my shawls as much as I usually would in October. But that's probably going to change this week. We're supposed to get some rain, and then soon I'll be in New York, and that's going to be a little bit colder too. So I have some fall shawl style plans. Alrighty then. So those were my now wearings. I'll keep my Ren on. That one's kind of fun. I have no finished objects this week. I've just been plugging away on the things that I'm working on, and I have lots to get done in the next week and a half. So let me show you some of my works in progress. Alright, so this, once again, is my Feather and Cloud sweater, a pattern by FALLSHAWLSTYLE. I had to think for a second if it was Hohi Locatelli or Vera Valamaki. Those two get confused in my brain. Alright, I am still on the sleeves. So I measured last night, and I still have about 4 inches, including the ribbing, until I get it to the length that I wanted on my wrist. In the pattern, there we go, that's a nice approximation of the color. When it's far away, it just is blowing out the blue. Yep. I want it to hit my wrist, and in the pattern, it hits about there, I think. If I'm going to knit a long sleeve sweater, not a 3/4 length. 3/4 length would hit here for me, probably, for my other ones. I don't want it somewhere in between. I want it all the way to my wrist. So, that means I have about another 4 inches on the sleeves. They're just a little slow going 2 at a time, but I know they're going to be done at the same time, and right now I'm done with the decreases, so just doing stockinette. One of the balls that I'm working from is gone, so time to switch out. I'm kind of hoping that I won't have to dip into the final 3 balls, but I might for the button band, because I still need to do that. So I have 3 uncaked up balls right now. Let's put those back. I got a beautiful blue flower. I'm not wearing it to wear in my hair with this at Rhinebeck. So if you see a girl with a blue spectrum sweater and a big blue flower in her hair, that's me probably. So yes, this is my Rhinebeck sweater because I am going to Rhinebeck in New York State. That is not this coming weekend, but the following weekend. So October 18th and 19th, I think, are the Saturday and Sunday. I will be there both days. I will be at the Podcaster Meetup and the Ravelry Meetup. The Podcaster Meetup is on the hill by the entrance at 1 p.m. on Saturday, I think. If you're there, please try and find me or grab me at any point during the whole event. I'm thinking I might plan to sit down with my knitting here and there throughout the weekend and post here's where I am on Instagram and see if anyone finds me. I've heard that the cell coverage is pretty slim there, but that might do it. So, first work in progress, Rhinebeck sweater. Woo-hoo! Second work in progress I can't show you. It is a sample knit. It is out of a Sun Valley yarn, and it is going along, but it also needs to be done before Rhinebeck because I'm going to be needing to deliver it. So that's coming along. I'm working hard on that. Next thing is Catch the Snowman Socks. I put a little bit of work onto these this week. Mostly on the bus, to and from places. So I have a little bit more on the back of the leg. You can see I was probably there last week. So I would really like to get these off the needles so that I can start my next socks. I don't think they're quite long enough yet, but maybe after a few bus rides this week, I have a couple appointments, I could see making them short socks and having them maybe an inch, maybe two, maybe one or two more repeats, and that would be a really nice length for wearing in my tennis shoes or my new shoes, and I think I might call that good. I really like the yarn. It's Spartacus dyes, Will and Grace base in the Happy Snowman colorway. The pattern is by Cece Allman of the Geeky Girls Knit Podcast, Java Pearl. And yes, they're just going slow because I'm not working on them very much. They are in my yarn pop bag. The sweater is in my Jessalou big bag. The next thing, I'm just zooming right through these because you've seen most of them. This is my sockhead hat. So I cast it on to work on it last week for the podcast, and then, this is so goofy, I sat here editing the podcast. I put in all the transitions and do all the things that need to be done for making my notes, which generally means I get to watch a little bit of my episode while I'm doing it. So I was sitting here and I realized I was knitting with myself. I was knitting along on my sockhead hat while I watched myself to edit. So silly, but it happened. So it probably will again. The awesome thing about this is it's completely autopilot. Even when it was the ribbing, it was super duper easy, and now it's even more easy. I put on a good 2 inches, maybe 3, while playing games the other day. Because between turns on the games that I didn't need to have cards in my hand, I was able to just sit there, put on a couple stitches, do my turn, put on a few more stitches, and I just zoomed around it. So, this is probably a pattern I will make quite a few things from because it's so easy. I don't know who's going to receive a bunch of sockhead hats, but I have some sock yarn that I'm not content with how it would feel on my feet, but I think it would work really well for a hat. So that may be the destination for it. So, sockhead hat. That is moving along. The yarn is Plymouth Diversity, and Wendy McClure, I think, is the designer. I'll put it in the show notes again. I wrote it down last week, but I don't remember. Some things stick in my brain really well, and some things don't. Okay, so needle adjacent. I am going to be casting on a new pair of socks. That requires me to finish the old pair of socks. Hence, they might be short. Did I show you guys this already? I think I did. This is No Maker's Fingering Sparkle Gnome in the candy corn colorway. My friend Angel sent this to me, and so it is going to be what I work on during my trip. I will probably cast it on at the airport when I get up really early and work on it as I go along. The other thing that I'm thinking I will take for travel knitting, because I will be done with my sweater and my sample knit, and I'm not sure that I want to figure out doing the Japan sleeves pattern by Hohi Locatelli. That's really the next thing that I want to knit. But there's going to be a bit of thinking involved in that. And so, thinking I might cast on for a color affection in very fall-y colors. These are some of the random Knit Picks yarns in my stash. I think all 3 of them are shadow, although this one I bought from they had a warehouse sale, and it says gloss, but it does not feel like my gloss. So I think they're all Knit Picks shadow. And I like these colors together. I was thinking I was going to do one with a pink in it, but I think this would be really nice. And I got a beautiful orange shirt yesterday at Old Navy, and I think it would look really nice. So, I think that would be an easy thing to cast on. And this is in my London bag that came with the candy corn yard from Angel. Those are the needle adjacent projects. Next up, geekiness. Like I was saying with the Sockhead hat, I went and played some games this weekend. The Game Storm convention that me and my husband go to every year is in March. And once a quarter, on the months that are not March, they have a game day, a free game day at the hotel. And they bring a selection of their games. They have over 1,000 games in their library. They do not bring all of those. I'm going to see if my bookmark is still in here. And it's not. Over 1,000 games, though. And so this was one of the game days. There were 170 people that showed up to the event, which is a pretty big turnout for the little small room they had. And you can bring games, you can play with other people, or you can just play out of the library. I played just games, just Eric and I, things that we wanted to try out. We did 3 new games that I hadn't played. He had played 2 of them. And it was a great time. I was there he played a game before I got there, and I was there for long afternoon, like after we had lunch, 2 o'clock to 7 o'clock-ish, and it was lots of fun. We really enjoyed it, and it's nice geeky fun. So you can see my pics on Instagram. I always tag them as Board Game Geek, and the ones that we play at home too. So we did play a couple things at home this week too, but the Game Storm Day was the most of it. And then I'm going to put in some pictures of my standing desk, because that's definitely part of my geekiness, is I spend time on my computer, and my new setup is really nice. We had to do a bit of adjusting to make the standing desk work. We thought that just the legs were going to hold it up. We thought the legs were going to work with the bigger desk, and they didn't. So we adapted. The bigger desk is now behind me, which is nice. I can still block on it. And the smaller desk has turned into the standing desk, but it had to end up with shelves underneath it, propped up with books. And so this is a great step. So I will have put some photos, hopefully, in the corner, and you can see some of the looks of my spot. That is geeky. Kitchen is up next. I actually cooked something that I had not cooked before. So, I made lemon ricotta pancakes and served them with lemon curd. I was struck with the desire to buy lemon curd at Trader Joe's, and I needed a great recipe for that, so I did some searches on the internet, as one does, and found a recipe for these lemon ricotta pancakes where you whip egg whites and mix them into eggs, ricotta, flour, sugar, lemon zest, but just simple. Made these new pancakes, and it was great to try out something and have it work out really nicely. And along with that kitchen thought, I will take a sip of my coffee. I am drinking Stumptown coffee, which is my favorite. I put ginger Tirani sugar-free syrup and a little bit of vanilla soy creamer today. It's very nice. I actually started out with a mug of hot coffee in my ZK mug, and then put the rest of it into chill and made iced coffee with the rest. That's a pretty nice way for me to do it on the warm days. All right, let's talk about some girly stuff. I got some new shoes, and I actually brought them to show you because I don't buy that many new shoes. So my girliness is my new Danceco Pro XPs with floral print. And I need wide shoes. So I'm still kind of confirming that they're going to be good, but when I wore them yesterday, my feet were already swollen from a lot of walking on the weekend. So I need to try again and make sure that they're going to be acceptable before I bring them and wear them to run back all day. I can just imagine myself walking around without any shoes trying to get away from foot pain, but so I don't want to do that. I have had Dancecos in the past. My feet have since changed sizes. That pair of Dancecos wore out. It didn't stay on my feet anymore, whether it was size or just being worn out from so much use. I wore them all the time, everywhere. They were the only thing comfortable enough for my feet. So I have high hopes for these. These are the Pro XPs, so they have a little bit better support, and they seem to have a little bit bigger footbed where the front of my foot is. So I'm excited about that. They aren't a bright, shiny, fancy color like some of the other Dancecos. There aren't that many options for the XPs, but these had a little bit more style than just the plain ones, and so I went with that. And I am hopeful that I will get to be wearing them all the time. I have had sandals this summer, then that's what fit my feet and worked. But I can't wear sandals all fall and winter. And I don't just want to wear my tennis shoes all fall and winter. So I'm hoping this will be a good option. So there's that girliness. I also have little flowies in my hair today. I like to make flowers and put them on things. They're on little clips out of leftover sock yarn. These are the sock yarn from the TDTU top down toe up pattern that Rachel Rue and Erin of Anatomy of Knitting made. I knit Christine in the Fall socks is what I called them because it was a nice fall colorway with pink in it. So that made it my Christine in the Fall socks. And this was leftovers, and I made 2 of them. And I don't usually wear them at the same time, but I wanted to pull my hair back on both sides, so there we go. So, moral of the story, make hair flowies. I have a little happy note. I have been working on my bullet journal. My journal is a nice pink. This is the ARC from Staples, and I have podcast notes in here. I made a little smiley face, a little sunshine next to the fact that it's sunny today. And I'm not using it as much as a bullet journal as I am a structure for making my life happier. And so trying to find the focuses that I want to focus on during the days rather than big to-do lists. And I think it's going to take me a few weeks to get settled into it and see how it works. But I'm liking the idea. Not yet, but I'm really looking forward to getting to know my notebook and figuring out what the next step of focused Christine versus ultra organized Christine. I think it's going to be good. And I really like the idea of being full of happiness. I made a pretty little picture that I posted on Instagram a couple days ago about being happyful. That was a fun word that came to mind when I was thinking about it. Alrighty. I think I zoomed through all of the things. I made a big list today, and I see that we're running a little bit longer than I thought. And that's okay too. You guys don't mind, do you? I'm going to really try. Keep them short. As I say every time. Alright. So, I think we're going to have a new contest, but I'm not going to unveil that until next week. Yeah. And I think that will cover it. So, you can find me around the internets, the interwebs, as Christine on Ravelry, Katie LB on Instagram and Twitter. The Yarningspodcast.com has the show notes. And we have a delightful Ravelry group. Please come and introduce yourself. Even though the contest is over, please introduce yourself. You can search for Yarnings Podcast on inside of Ravelry in the groups, and you will find us. So, until next time, that's the story. Bye.